page 106 in your yellow books, we have the essay question. And it's a pretty broad, open question. Basically it says, in your essay you are to examine one or more areas of brokenness in the play, discuss what has gone wrong, what aspect of the human condition is being attacked, and what one that which has gone wrong. So we're going to look at some of the through lines through your essay, what through lines are there, because if God gives us basic principles to live by, and he says this is what we live by, then obviously when we don't live by those, there's brokenness, right? And it can cause great harm. And so how do we take what he says to bring what's broken back, right? And that's our job in life. God created the earth perfectly, then there was sin, and Jesus came to cover our sins and forgive us, and then he's challenged us or called us to now help restore that which is broken, right? So that's what we're going to study in this play. We've looked at all the different characters, we've gone through the play, you've done a study on the characters. Now I want to just try to enlighten you a little bit and get your brains thinking about what is it that you're going to take from this play. The reason is this: I cannot write a good essay if I don't have some connection myself, right? Like I can't write it if I don't find a way to connect. And each one of you come from different circumstances. Each one of you have different perspectives. So what touches me in the play may not be what touches you, right? Maybe in my life I'm going through where I see this great injustice. Maybe it's the way people are bullying, or maybe it's the way I'm being treated at work, it's unfair. And there's these great injustices that I need to correct. Well, I'm going to work on Hamlet, because that's what Hamlet's problem is, right? He sees this great injustice that he needs to deal with. He needs to be a justice, seeking justice and restoring justice. And so I might really connect to Hamlet in that way. I might be really connecting, let's say, with Polonius, because I'm a parent. And I know how difficult it is to parent. And I might look at how Polonius gives this advice to Ophelia. He says, she says, I don't know what to think. And what does Polonius respond to her? Well, don't think at all. You're just a babe. Think of yourself as a babe, like a newborn child that doesn't know anything. That's what he tells her. Don't think. That's what he says to her, right? And then later, what does he do? He turns around and he says, he uses, beshrew my jealousy. He apologizes, right? He says, by heaven, it is as proper to our age to cast beyond ourselves in our opinions, as it is common for the younger sort to lack discretion. He's saying, I see that as a parent, I've looked way beyond things, and I jump to all these conclusions. Like every boy, all they want is sex. That's what parents want. Oh, be careful, girl. Every boy, that's all. They only want one thing. That's what parents say. Well, that's not. There's a truth to it at times, but that's not the truth, right? That's not the truth of every relationship. So they cast beyond. Parents might cast beyond, right? Whereas when you're younger, what happens is sometimes you lack discretion, he says. When you're younger, sometimes you just jump into the fire because you can't see, right? You don't see what happens beyond. You don't see the future as much as when you're experienced, you say, oh, if I do this, this is going to happen, right? When you're playing a sport and you think, okay, if I do this move here in basketball, I'm going to do a fake and then come here, and you see that works, you're going to keep doing it. But when you do this move and you are too slow with it, you see that it doesn't work, so you say, oh, that doesn't work. That's life, right? That's the same as life. Once you've experienced more, you say, oh, when a teacher says, stop talking, and you've said, I'm not talking, and then the teacher gets furious with you, you've learned that I better not do that. That's probably not a good thing to deny my behaviors. Whereas owning up, the teacher says, hey, quit telling you yellow. Or, you were doing this wrong. Yeah, I was, sorry, right? You learn how to behave. And so that's what he's saying. He says with youth, you lack discretion because you don't have the experience, but as a parent, sometimes you overshoot your opinion because you're thinking all the worst things that can happen. So maybe I could write a good essay because I understand what it's like to be a parent and to have all of this stuff going on in your head, but the truth of it is we really do need to take every situation for itself, right? That holds true even in school. Like one person might come and say, hey, can I do this with my essay? Like, can I hand it in tomorrow? And I'm like, no. And then the next person, may I hand you my essay in tomorrow? And I go, yeah, you may, right? Well, the one person I know has been fooling around, not doing any work, and just been goofing off, whereas the other person has been sick, there's family trouble, they've worked hard, but they've got all these circumstances, right? So I'm not going to have the same answer for each student. That would be insanity, because we're all different, right? We must understand the situation for what it is. So if I was going to write, I could write on Polonius. Whereas, if I was going to write on Ophelia, I might write about the whole idea of how sometimes when we're young, we really want other people to make choices for us, but that's so dangerous because we need to have a mind of our own. How about to thine own self be true? You need to your own self be true, or you have a brain. It says how noble and great man is. Do you guys remember that quote? What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty and form and moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. Sure, he that made us with such large discourse, looking before and after, gave us not the capability of godlike reason to fuss in us unused. God didn't give us, our reason and our abilities so that we would just pass them off to someone else. We wouldn't use our own faculties. We wouldn't use our own thinking, right? So I might work at that. Like there's no set truth in Hamlet until you bring truth to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Until you can understand something that's meant something to you. Right? How about the whole idea of why don't we act on things? How many of you are procrastinators in here? And you put everything. Now, why do you procrastinate? And if you really look at it, sometimes you procrastinate because you are afraid that you don't really know what to do. You don't really know how it's going to turn out. I just can't get at it, right? And so in his To Be or Not to Be speech, Hamlet says later, he says, in enterprises, I don't have that quote here, in enterprises of great pith and moment, their currents turn away and lose the name of action. Or he says, no traveler returns puzzles and will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. What kinds of things stop us from acting? What kinds of things stop us from doing? Is there something you need to do? Is there something you really need to do in your life to set things right? Right? And if you're procrastinating, you know you should be doing this. You know that if you should be acting on these, you should be doing something, and you're not. So you might really relate to Hamlet, that fear keeps you from doing it, or frustration, or whatever it is. Maybe it is just laziness. Maybe it is just, not likely, but what is keeping you from doing what you want to do, achieving what you want to achieve in your life, right? Like what keeps you from that? So maybe your essay will be on that. and you'll understand that Hamlet delays and he doesn't set justice in motion. He doesn't do what's right. And why doesn't he? Well, partly it's fear, and partly it's he just doesn't know. He's confused, or partly he says, why me? Why should I have to do the right thing when everybody else is all messed up? Right? Sometimes too, also when we're looking at something, we can, how many of you know, like my big flaws in my life are sometimes I just say things as they are. I just say them as I see them. Not that it's as they are necessarily, because maybe my perspective is a little off, right? But I say things as I see them, and that's a good thing in so many times in my life. That's a really good thing. I can speak into people's lives. I can help them see clearly as to this is what's going on, right? It's a really good thing. And then the pendulum can swing. And maybe what I'm saying is really hurting them and causing them great grief, right? So knowing sometimes a person's flaw is a strength, and sometimes a person's flaw is actually a flaw, right? And harmful. So when you're looking at Hamlet, if you think of, what's Hamlet's flaw, he dies in the end and so forth. But usually a tragedy is that the protagonist, the main character we all love, but he has one basic big flaw that we can all look at and go, that's horrible, but I'm not like that, right? So maybe you're going to write on our flaws. On the board here it says you must find some way to connect to a character or circumstance in Hamlet in order to write well about it, right? Like, you have to find something. You guys are full of understanding and full of knowledge. You've got to believe in yourself to use that, right? Then your paper will be interesting and good because you're understanding life, right? Your own perspective of what gives meaning to the play. What did you take from it? You can't, you can talk to friends and you can get ideas, and you can, that's why we did that whole part where we really looked at a character and we looked at what they were like and what's gone wrong, and we analyzed who they were and how they were, right? You can share and you can get ideas from that. But if you try to write someone else's essay, someone else's idea, it's not going to be strong. Find something for yourself. That's what I'm asking you to do. Find something to connect to. There's so many characters and so many circumstances in this play that there's got to be something that you can connect to, right? There's got to be something that you understand and connect to. And then, for example, if it's Gertrude, Gertrude, Hamlet said, one of the themes in Hamlet is bad habits are hard to break, but if you, day by day, you try to replace a bad habit with a good habit, then the habit will work for you. And he says, assume virtue. Assume a virtue if you have it not. That monster custom, who all does eat, of habits devil, is angel yet in this, that to the use of actions fair and good, he likewise gives a frock of liveries, blah, blah, goes on. And that shall lend a kind of easiness to the next abstinence, the next more easy, for use almost can change the stamp of nature. For use, quote, for use can almost change the stamp of nature. So if you are in a bad habit, or you want to develop a good habit, for example, maybe you want to get fit. Well, I've been saying I'm going to go back to running for about a month now. Had an excuse why I haven't gone back to the snow, the cold. Oh, I had a cold. Oh, I had too much work. Oh, But if I just start to go, and this is how I've done it in the past, I just start to go. And on Monday, that's it, I'm going to go for a short run, and I just go. Well, then I started. And the next day, Tuesday, it's like, well, that wasn't so bad. Okay, and I keep going. And after I get going, that habit is more established, and it's easier for me to keep going, right? And so maybe that's what you relate to Gertrude, in that, she's made some bad mistakes, and the whole idea of how do we change a habit, and how do we become a better person, right? It just takes the first step, and then another step, Hamlet says, and another step, and all of a sudden we become that virtuous person. So many talks that I've listened to on TED Talks, or different things that I've read, is like, fake it till you become it. You've heard that? Fake it till you make it, fake it till you become it. You want to be a disciplined person? Start faking that you're a disciplined person. Start pretending and doing what you can that you think a disciplined person is, and eventually you're going to look back and go, hey, I am that disciplined person. I want to be a really smart person? Well, start thinking and acting and talking about how how you're going to be that smart person and set your life. All of a sudden, a couple of years down the road, you're that smart person. Like whatever it is, that's what Hamlet is saying there. So, if bad habits are hard to break, can be built. Ambitions in themselves aren't necessarily wrong, right? We understand Claudius. We understood he wanted this beautiful queen, his brother's wife. He was so jealous. Why shouldn't he have a wife that loves him and he loves? How is that wrong? Right? Why should one person have more money than another person? Why should one person have more power than another person? Right? Why shouldn't you have ambition? Why shouldn't you guys be willing? In the middle of teaching, just take a message. Sorry. Like, why don't you? Where was I? Claudius and, oh yeah, I'm getting ahead. So the thing is, what do? And you might think that you're not being Claudius, because yeah, you didn't go and murder your brother and lie about it. But what did you do? Did you not really help the person who asked you a question, even about the essay? Did you not really give them anything? Did you talk badly or try to point out the flaws in someone so that it would make you look better? Right? Like, come on. This is a human condition. We all experience this. But how we deal with it matters, right? Hope to God none of you become murderers. I really do hope so, because that would not be a good thing. Just saying. But hope to God that you don't hurt people on the way up for you to climb, for you to get ahead, for you to, get the job you want, or the life you want, or the relationship you want. Hopefully you don't throw your friends under the bus because you're trying to get close to this guy that both of you like, or this girl. Like, hopefully we don't do that. But that, maybe you can connect to Claudius. Maybe you can connect to this whole idea of, it's hard not being, you see some of your friends and they're always getting everything. They always achieve. They get the best marks. They have the money. They get the best boyfriend. They play sports. Maybe they get it all, and you're kind of sitting there like, how can this be fair in life? Right? Because it isn't. It isn't truly fair, but it is what it is. So how do we deal with that? And then Hamlet, sometimes our flaws are good. Maybe you're talking about that and his flaws and how your flaws, whatever. You're not going to talk about yourself, of course you know that. Or maybe you're going to talk about, injustice demands action. Maybe you're going to think about, what? There are injustices that are happening in my life right now that I need to do something about, but I'm afraid to, right? And maybe it means that you need to apologize, and maybe that's hard because how will that person take that apology? Well, they're going to blow me off, or they're not going to forgive me, or you know what I mean? We do all kinds of things to stop ourselves from being justice seekers, to try to create justice. Maybe that's what you're going through right now, or have in the past. I'm not even saying right now, like everything could be from just what you understand, what you connect to. Obligation. Maybe you guys just feel so obligated, and you can connect to Hamlet, how he was obligated to right the wrong, right? But he didn't want to. Like, he had all kinds of reasons why he didn't. Or, you use your brain. We have good intentions, but do we follow through? And it's to be or not to be. Like, we turn away. We turn away from our good intentions, and we know that we should send that friend a card, or we should bake a cake, or we should tell Miss Yanew how much we like her. Kidding. No, not real. No. Can we take the back seat? Or is somebody taking the back seat to us? Do we have a friend who's truly helping us? Like Horatio, always doing what's good. Can you take the back seat? Can you be the person in second? Can you be the person that you do to restore that which has gone wrong? So we're going to look at